The final column of the distance existence relationships are the words of motion movement, right? These words of motion movement, or just motion, I should say, or maybe just movement, show transference of going unto, right? Or some sort of location in a way. Um, but they're words of motion, meaning moving. There's like some sort of ghost movement within them, so to speak, right? If you can think of it that way, where there's just some ghost movement or some movement unto, yeah, that is your keyword, going unto, movement unto, um, you will be able to understand this concept. Before we begin, though, I want to just point out that the location distance existence relation words, right? Those location words are starting to be more common than these motion words. And that is, again, part of the evolution of the Cebuano language, you know? Especially with dealing with these distance existence relationships, much of the Cebuano language is evolving, so this is a part that's being greatly affected. Now, that's not to say that these words don't exist anymore, but these words do exist, they're just rarely used. And why? Because the location words are slowly taking over their definitions. So you will still hear these words from time to time, but you're gonna also notice with the examples how some of these words can take in the location words, and you'll see how that's affecting and changing the Cebuano language as it evolves. So on the left side, we have our list of words that you should already know, right? Ngari, nganhi, nganha, and ngadto, right? Now, just like the other words of the verbals, right? The verbals or the verbal action words, these words of motion show movement, right? And with movement, they're related to verbs. So here in our verbal words with ari, anhi, anha, and adto, they can also be used in conjunction with them with that rhythm and rhyme. The rhythm and rhyme kind of little silly mnemonic that we used, right? Because again, look, ngari, nganihi, nganha, and ngadto all end with ari, anhi, anha, and adto. So essentially, they're two in one with just a nga prefix. And that's how you can show relation with the movement of motions on these verbal words, right? So again, you can use these specifically just to simply say ari nganhi, ari ngari, or anhi nganhi, anha nganha, adto ngadto. They still make sense that way. Just simple two-word sentences, right? Starting with the words of verbal action and then the words of motion unto or unto, right? In the bottom here in these examples, right, I just wrote 3 down because again, this is a rare, it's not really used nowadays, and I wouldn't say it's rare, but it's just not used now. It's just not commonly used. But you can see through these example sentences, right? For example, dali ngari, or dali ngari uy. So someone is telling somebody, right? The speaker is telling somebody to come over there quick, or I guess come here because it's closer, right? To come quick. Hey, come quick. Come quick. And this is what I mean by the words of location. The location words are starting to be more common than the motion words. Because even though the sentence or I guess I should say the exclamation says, dali ngari, you can replace this ngari with ari or diri, right? Dali, it's diri, right? Dali diri, right? Dali diri. So it makes perfect sense that way. Dali diri, come here, come quick. So you'll hear more of the location words more than the motion words. But that's not to say again that these motion words don't exist. They do. They're just not frequently used. The second sentence, naay taong nag-apas nganhi. Kinsa ba siya? So, yeah, and again, I can replace this nganhi with dinhi. Naay tawong nag-apas dinhi. Kinsa ba siya? See? It perfectly makes sense. So it's you can use these location markers to substitute the words of motion and movement, and it will still make sense, right? Naay tawong nag-apas nganhi. Naay tawong nag-apas dinhi. They both mean similar and almost the same thing. Finally, we have paspas para basya pag anha nganha, right? And again, I can replace this with the location word. Paspas para basya pag anha dinha, right? Pag anha dinha, right? So again, I hope you can kind of see where this is going because these words of motion are so similar to the words of location, right? Interesting. That's why I earlier I said something about a ghost movement because they do show movement, right? And it shows words of motion, not words of location. But they can also kind of represent words of location because if there is a movement going on from one place to another, that movement is going to have you guessed it, a location. So that's why these two are just very similar, and that's why this evolution of the location words creeping in more commonly is being used. That's just an eye opener for this situation.